Okay, let me know when you can see me.
So walk back, so we can see you, but if you walk back into the hallway. Yeah. That's pretty much what I saw, but a much smaller.
Go back.
Okay. So like, how tall would you say? Would you say it's like this height? Like if I walk in the hallway, it's about this height?
I would, you know what?
Walk in here?
Yeah. I saw her move in past, and like I can see, because you can see like her head popping back out and stuff.
Yeah, she's coming back out.
So, you know what? I want to say, like, maybe what I saw was somebody's arm.
Interesting.
Because I didn't see any hair. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, where you can see, like, her hair and her face. Yeah. Whereas I, like...
So we're...
I mean, it was just pure skin tone.
Let's see if I stick out my arm.
Okay.
Well, I like to do things thoroughly.
Yeah, no, you're right.
It's me, the perfectionist in me. So you saw right about here, right?
Just...
So like an arm.
Welcome to Houston Strange. My name is Adam, and I will be your host. If you're new to this podcast, I highly recommend that you start at episode 1 to hear this series from the beginning and learn the full story so far. I'd like to say a quick thank you to everybody for the reception on episode 1 and 2 so far. It's been incredible, honestly, and hearing your stories coming in, I am very much looking forward to the future of Houston Strange to see where this takes us. But first, in last week's episode, Mike's wife Susan and their neighbour Michelle filled us in on what they've been experiencing while living in what can only be described as a haunted neighbourhood just outside of Houston. Shadow figures, electronics being interfered with, and children's toys going off at random throughout the day and night. There's strange sounds being heard in both houses, and Mike even managed to take a picture of what seems to be something waiting outside his son's bedroom one night. We'll get into that in more detail in just a little while, but first, in between our original interview with Mike and meeting up again in his house, curiosity had started to get the better of him and Susan, and they began to experiment to see if they could get any sort of communication with whatever was causing this activity in their house. Primarily, they're conducting EVP, or electronic voice phenomenon sessions, in which they'll use the voice notes app on their phone while in different areas of the house and just ask questions. This is a very common ghost hunting technique, and typically after a session like this, one would review their audio and see if they can hear any strange sounds or even voices potentially answering the questions asked. In Mike and Susan's defense, they have caught a few interesting pieces during their sessions, but I probably won't be sharing them during these episodes. I might upload some clips to the website or even just on Instagram with Mike's permission, if any of you would like to review them for yourselves. Now, I've always struggled with giving myself a title in this paranormal realm, because I definitely wouldn't consider myself a paranormal investigator or an expert by any means. In fact, I don't think there are any experts in this field. On my little business cards that I had printed specifically for this project, I put paranormal researcher below my name, but even that feels a bit pretentious, to be honest. With that being said, I did bring along a few ghost hunting tools that evening, just to see if we could capture any interesting anomalies as me, Mike and Susan all sat down for a chat. In my little ghost hunting bag, I had some motion sensitive light up cat balls, a small handheld recorder, a GoPro and a spirit box. Now these are items I've collected over the years, and I have them primarily for when me, my wife and some friends of ours would go to supposed haunted locations, and really they're just for fun. Truthfully, I was there just to hear Mike and Susan's stories, but a part of our night was dedicated to experimenting with these devices with little success. I have a little video of interesting audio anomalies I can share, but I didn't want this to turn into a say what you see situation. All that to say, this episode picks up where we left off last week in Mike and Susan's house, sitting on the couch, having a good chat about all the ghostly goings on that Mike and Susan have been experiencing throughout their time there.
I think my husband explained, like, he experienced a lot more than I, because mostly, like, I think one time he was reviewing his audio clips in our master, and it was a couple of days ago. I'm sure he'll tell you, but I was just laying right there, and he was doing his, review. All of a sudden, at the corner of his eye, he said that he saw a hand, like just like it looked like a hand, like holding the door as I was about to close it. He shot up, like I never seen shot up so quick. He ran like, I'm like, what did you see? He's like, I sworn I seen like.
Oh yeah, the other night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling him how you saw a hand in
Oh yeah, that was
our
creepy.
daughter's room.
Like I said, I've been trying to figure out how to use the software to try to find EVPs, trying to learn that. And for some reason, something was calling my attention almost. It was like I was sitting here on the bed and I'm trying to focus on learning the program. And for some reason, my eyes kept going to here. Like the door didn't move, but I clearly saw almost like a blocky, almost had the texture of a hand. And I'm sitting here going like, is my eyes playing tricks on me? But it was darker than everything else. And we have those smart bulbs in there that's down like 2-3% just to cast a glow. So at the exact same time, I was like, is it maybe I'm looking through here, there's a play on light? I don't know. But yeah, I saw half a hand just go like this, close a little bit, and then it was gone. Why was I called to look there? Why was, I was focusing on a program. There was no reason for me to be looking over here. But for some reason, my eyes just kept going towards there. And I don't know if it's a learned condition now. Like I said, my past, everything I've done, I always question why. And I've gotten to a point to where I don't know if my paranoia at this place has gotten to take over. And plus now my wife is starting to see things, so that's even heightened me to another level, because now it's just not me. It's her too. So I don't know if experiences like that, now I'm looking for it. And so now am I feeding my own mind? And that's something that I don't know.
There it is again. This bizarre feeling, almost like a magnetic pull to look at a specific spot at just the right time to see some peculiar phenomenon. Michelle expressed how she has also experienced this strange feeling, and many paranormal experiencers across the board describe similar sensations. Is this some sort of entity or spirit drawing Mike in intentionally just to say, hey, look at this? Or is the phenomenon itself producing some sort of energy which reacts to some unknown human instinct? Maybe it's what some believe to be the third eye, some untuned psychic reaction. Or maybe you could call it a gut feeling, a sort of primal response. Animals have been known to act strangely before natural disasters, long before any human alarm system has even registered atmospheric changes. It's also a common theory that some animals are aware of paranormal activity and often seem to react when strange events occur around them. Whether it's intentional or not though, this activity is starting to affect Mike in more ways than just being scared in his own home. He's starting to question his own sanity. His rationalization is starting to wear thin. We spoke about the isolation that can so often accompany these types of long-term hauntings, and while Susan has also been experiencing strange things in the house, a lot of it seems to only affect Mike.
Feels like whatever's here is getting stronger.
Because
And
yesterday you heard us, like you were reviewing the clip and you heard a sound.
Right.
You heard something and like, I didn't hear it.
So
but-
I was on the bed, once again on the program. Long story short, I was figuring out how the stuff works. And I'm in my own head, just focused. All of a sudden, I heard what sounded, and it was distinct on my left ear. I didn't hear it like it was in my ear, but it sounded like it was bouncing off a wall sound. And it sounded like a laugh. It was like, I couldn't discern the words, if it was words, but I heard like, ha ha ha. I already had my headphones down. I think I was talking to you at that split second. And then I heard in my left ear, ha ha ha. And I looked over and I'm like, what the hell? Like, there's just a wall here. And I asked her, I was like, did you hear that? And she's like, no, I didn't hear anything. It just tripped me out because she's right beside me. She's less than 2 feet away from me. We're in the same bed.
Yeah.
How am I hearing this?
One time he was in I think I was just sitting on the bed, I guess watching TV. I remember one time he's like showering, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere he like, hey, I remember one time you like, I think I was about to doze off, and you like, you ran off the shower, and then like you shook me like, hey, I heard something. I don't know what you heard, but you're like, I was showering and someone said something in my ear. I don't know what it was. He like legit almost shaking the bed like, hey, like.
Sometimes it just rattles me
Yeah,
because
and
it's.
he would like, I'm like, oh,
I don't know if I told you that story. I think I was maybe lost in thought in the shower, or I don't remember exactly the full situation, but I remember taking the shower and I hear a laugh, just a distinct female, and it was distinct that it was female. It was a soft female, and it sounded like, I don't know if it was a laugh or 2 syllables. I couldn't discern it, but it was enough and loud enough to where I heard it over the shower. And we have one of those rain showers, so it's kind of loud situation. And it freaked me out just because it was so loud. And I went to her. I don't think I even got dressed. I just went straight to her and I was just like, I just heard this. I just needed to tell somebody because it freaked me out.
When Mike described these events to me, my mind jumped straight to a familiar argument that's brought up again and again by skeptics. Exploding head syndrome. Now, I don't know if I would have believed this argument if I hadn't experienced it for myself. From the clevelandclinic.org, exploding head syndrome, or EHS, is a type of sleep disorder in which you hear a loud noise or explosive crashing sound in your head. This sound isn't real or heard by anyone else. The episode typically happens suddenly, either when you're beginning to fall asleep or when you wake up during the night. Gunshots, thunder, actual explosion noises, and even voices are heard by people who experience EHS. For me personally, in the past, a very common sound I would hear was pots and pans falling out of the cupboard, or the specific sound of my old golden retriever opening the kitchen door, which he would typically only do when he was scared. I have also heard people shouting, and it feels very real in the moment. I suppose maybe sleep paralysis and EHS could be linked, but it's very hard to describe just how real these sounds feel to someone who hasn't experienced it. I told Mike this while we were chatting, and we theorised that maybe in these specific circumstances, he was actually drifting off. We all know how easy it can be to drift off for a few minutes after work, lying on your bed, even with a laptop perched on your knees. We even went as far as to say maybe while he was in the shower, he was in an almost meditative state. And what he actually experienced was an episode of exploding head syndrome. But there were other situations he told me about that just weren't so easily explained.
I was changing my daughter, and I think I had started just to kind of play with her since she was just like there. And she just kind of rolled away, and I was just like sitting there just looking at her. And I actually heard my wife walk up right here, and I think she bumped into this. But right after I heard that bump, I heard what almost sounded like a baby cry. And so my first reaction is just like, okay, hey, I don't want this to disturb the house. Let me go over there. And I shot up like the dickens and just started to come over. And Nancy's looking at me confused. And she's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I heard a baby. I gotta go. And she's like, I didn't hear anything. And I was so confused because I thought I heard my son cry. She'd be the first one to say that I shot up immediately, because it wasn't just like, huh? But it was like, oh, I gotta go. I gotta get there. And she was technically closer to my son's room, and she heard nothing. But I heard a baby cry, and my first reaction, I gotta go. But she heard nothing, and I'm just like, are you sure? Did you not hear anything? And she's like, I don't know. So I only half believed her because it sounded so loud in my mind that I went on there and he's dead asleep. And I'm sitting here like, what? That makes no sense. I swear I heard him cry.
Is this something deliberately manipulating Mike, causing him to question his own faculties? Or could it be an imprint of energy left by the family themselves that is now replaying like an old tape recorder? Imagine how frustrating this must feel, just wanting someone else to share the experience for the sake of providing desperately needed vindication. One shared experience Mike recounted was with his daughter. They were walking into the master bathroom when his little girl suddenly pointed at something and made one of her excited noises. Mike looked up to see what had caught her attention, and they were both now looking at a shadow figure in the bathroom window. Mike looked back at his daughter for a split second, and of course, when he returned his gaze to the window, the figure was gone. We know this isn't the first report of shadow figures in the house, and it certainly isn't the last. Hurricane Beryl had hit Houston not long before this interview took place, and I was curious to see how the storm may have affected the activity in the house. It has long been thought that there is a correlation between storms, particularly thunderstorms, and paranormal activity. We've all heard a good old-fashioned ghost story or two that began with "one dark and stormy night." And I'll keep this brief, but there's multiple theories on why paranormal phenomena tends to ramp up around storms. One theory suggests that it's because of an increase in electromagnetic energy or possibly the changes in barometric pressure. Now, barometric pressure or atmospheric pressure of any kind is not something that I ever really paid much attention to, but one fascinating tidbit I often refer to is an incident which took place in Galveston during the Great Storm of 1900. A man by the name of William H. Marsh chose to stay in his apartment and weather the storm, assuming that he would be unaffected by floodwaters on the 4th floor. But while standing by a large window in his apartment, a sudden drop in pressure caused him to literally be sucked out through the window to his death. Another, maybe slightly more palatable theory suggests that the stress of the storm and the darkness when the electricity inevitably goes out, and even the following days with no power, can heighten fear and anxiety, potentially making people more alert, on edge, and susceptible to experiencing something supernatural, or maybe just making them less inclined to be as dismissive as they normally would.
We were without power for a week. And so all we had a generator, and there's a little AC that's in that room that was just for, try to keep one room cool for the kids during the hottest point of the day. And so my nightly habit was I would, I'd open the windows a little bit of a crack, and it was dark. So all I had was either a headlamp, or I'd use my phone as a source of light, so just I could see where I'm going. And so that particular night, it was 2 days after Beryl had hit, and I walked out of here, and I even though it's dark, you still had a bit of a moonlight to kind of cascade. It wasn't like it was fully lit moonlight, that kind of thing, but it was just enough to where I can see, because we have those windows right there on the side. And so I done my thing, and I had locked the doors, which doesn't make sense because I left the windows open. And so I was like, oh, I need to go refill the generator, because every time before we go to sleep, I go and refill it. And I was like, okay, well, out there, to be able to see, I always grab my headlamp, and I hadn't turned it on yet. I had walked out, and I happened to just look toward there, and I saw an insane detail. It wasn't, I couldn't see as if you were standing in front of me, but like it looked like he was wearing a cap. There was some hair sticking out. He was wearing pants. He didn't look very tall, but there was a figure that passed right in front of that little window, and it was just enough to where like I can see details that, I thought somebody broke into our house. And so I took off because I thought someone was in the house, because I'd always heard that after hurricanes people loot and things like that. And so I went over here. I didn't even bother turning on the headlamp. I just ran over here, and it went into that room, which is our playroom. And so I took off after it, And I got to the playroom and there was nothing there. But I only saw the figure right in front of that window. I didn't see it for like, if it were to pass in front of that little speakeasy right there. Yeah. I only saw it in front of that window there. And the only reason I saw it, I think, is because there was a silver car. And so I saw the silhouette right in front of the car, but there wasn't, like I said, I can see where he was wearing a hat. Looked like some hair was poking out. I mean, it was enough to where I could see detail. I could make out it was a black shadow. It was literally as black as, the cable box sitting right here. Like, there was no detail unless it was in shadow detail. I couldn't make out any features other than, what I can make out in the shadow itself. It looked so real that it looked like somebody was there. I thought somebody had broken into my house. Yeah. But I guess going to the shadow that was in here, that one was different because that one almost shape-shifted in front of me. I woke up in a snap for some reason. It was around, 4 o'clock in the morning? Everybody had gone to bed. And I had just, for some reason, just woke up. And I only half take it as something paranormal because, like I said, it could have been my head. I had just woken up. But I saw something standing. And it looked like a shadow against the wall. It didn't look like it was like standing in front of my bed, anything like that. It was a very tall shadow. And I laid there and I looked at it. And it almost looked like, the best description I can give it was like a skinny Grimace. Grimace from McDonald's? The shape of the head was almost like as if it was wearing like a cloak or something like that. But it was really tall. It almost reached the ceiling. And as soon as I started getting up like this, because I was like, what am I seeing? I saw it shoot across multiple walls. It went from here, where that TV is. I saw it turn a corner. It almost looked like it actually lifted off the wall at that point. And then we keep our master bath door open just a little bit. And I saw it like bend over from its top and then go into there. And it scared the living crap out of me. And I didn't know if I was dreaming it. I mean, I told her, and usually I don't remember my dreams, but it was so vivid. And I remember sitting up and looking at the master bathroom door, wondering if something's gonna pop out or anything like that. Like, at that point, I was awake. I stayed awake for another hour after that.
I think it's fair to say that there's quite a few similarities between Mike and Michelle's houses. Like the fact that both are experiencing phenomena that has made them think that there is actual flesh and blood intruders in their homes, but then also these bizarre shadow figures. It's finally time that we revisit the feet beneath the door from episode 1. Again, in a very similar situation to Michelle's, Mike has seen what can only be described as some sort of shadow figure almost waiting just on the other side of his son's bedroom door. The gap beneath the door is just big enough to see when there's potentially someone or something waiting outside. Now, I mentioned in episode 1 that Mike seems to have captured whatever this could be in a photograph, which I'll post on Instagram and the Houston Strange website. Upon first looking at the image, I could see that there was certainly something there, but I couldn't quite make out what it might have been. I put it through Photoshop and brightened it up a little bit, and it would appear that you can see what are possibly 2 little feet and a slightly lighter area, which could be the shadow of whatever the feet belong to. I'm leaving this one open for suggestions because I'm always eager to hear your opinions. But just as I was wrapping up to leave the house that night, most of my equipment had been packed away and Mike, Susan and I were just chatting when I caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of my eye. So we're actually just in the house now trying to debunk something that I actually think I may have seen.
Okay, let me know when you can see me.
So walk back, so we can see you, but if you walk back into the hallway. Yeah. That's pretty much what I saw, but a much smaller.
Go back.
Okay. So how tall would you say? Would you say it's like this height? Like if I walk in the hallway, it was about this height?
I saw her move in past and like I can see, because you can see like her head popping back out and stuff.
Yeah, she's coming back out.
So, you know what? I want to say, like, maybe what I saw was somebody's arm.
Interesting.
because I didn't see any hair. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like with Ari, you can see like her hair and her face. Yeah. Whereas I like.
So we're.
I mean, it was just
stick my
pure
arm
skin
out.
tone.
Let's see if I stick out my
Okay.
arm. Well, I like to do things thoroughly.
Yeah. No. You're right.
It's me, the perfectionist in me. So you saw right about here, right?
Just
So like an arm. Do you see my arm?
like if you go in front of her head with your arm, maybe.
Okay, my hand's right in front of you behind your head.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe that was it, like the swing of an arm. Or maybe it was just the trick of the light, honestly. But,
It could have been anything.
yeah.
But the fact that, at least in my mind, is that if it was the TV, it would have been a flash. It wouldn't have moved.
It wouldn't have gone
Yeah.
across.
It wouldn't have gone across.
That's true. It definitely, because earlier on I thought I saw something but it was actually moving at the time. That's why I didn't say. I was like, oh, maybe it's like a
Sorry,
weird
it's probably
reflection.
unprofessional or anything like
No, that's just fine. Don't worry.
that. See if that white guy got the picture.
I don't know. That was interesting though.
So, what you feel right now is what I feel all the time.
Yeah.
That's what I feel all the damn time here. Because you're sitting here wondering, did I see that correctly? Is
Yeah.
that something that am I seeing shit? Did I misinterpret that?
Yeah. Could it have been a car drive? I mean, there was no cars.
There's
you would
no
have
car
heard
in a
it.
cul-de-sac, so
Yeah.
there's no cars.
But I think that's a good place to leave it for tonight.
Alright, it's like, I felt something, get the fuck out of here.
Look, thanks so much for letting me come up to the house. It was really nice meeting you. Yeah. We definitely will go down that trail the next time.
Next time you want to come down, just let us know.
But yeah, if I find anything, I'll let you guys know.
Okay,
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
You want to know something?
Huh.
These shoes look an awful lot like the shape of the shoe from the thing. If we
Yeah.
Yeah,
have
it does.
a little impersonator, you know.
Right?
We assume it's a little girl.
Yeah, it's something. I don't know.
Oh, there's a little frog.
Oh, a little baby frog?
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of that. Uh-oh. We gotta close the door.
Right, okay. Go on. I'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming out again.
Thanks for having me. So if you can hear that noise, I'm just leaving the house now. It's actually quite a spooky location at night because you're at the end of this cul-de-sac. You're at the end of this cul-de-sac and there's just a dead-end road. And that's the forest. Like, that's Texas forest. You can hear it. That's cicadas, that's frogs. So this time it's 11:30 at night. Thankfully, I have a very understanding wife. And I'm fairly sure I've said this before. This is a Houston suburb. I also live in a Houston suburb. It's about an hour away. Right at the end there, as we were talking, what I was trying to debunk was the fact that it looked like something passed by the door going into the children's bedroom and where the bathroom is. Now, we tried to debunk it and we couldn't come up with anything reasonable. I'm not saying that it was, anything particular. What it looked like was maybe a child or a small adult walking in that way, just briefly past it. And I had noticed something earlier similar when their daughter was like happily just kind of going around in the playroom or in the living room. So I'm not sure. What a way to wrap up this series. I still don't really know if what I saw was anything paranormal, but I think it was a testament to Mike and Susan's level-headed approach to debunking and explaining their own personal experiences. As I was walking out the door, I noticed something. These shoes look an awful lot like the shape of the shoe from the thing, if we have a little impersonator, A pair of little girl's shoes that looked an awful lot like the shape of the shadow in Mike's picture. I wasn't quite sure how to approach this with Mike. I had a strong sense that this is exactly what was in the picture, but I didn't want him to think that I was trying to call him out or make him suspect that I thought he had placed these in the picture, because that's not what I believe. Throughout this case, there have been instances from Mike, Susan, and even Michelle where the individual has brushed something off as, oh, I thought it was just my daughter or husband, and then they realise that the person they thought it was actually in a different part of the house. The term doppelganger comes from the German language and literally translates as double walker or ghostly double. It's believed by many to be a foreboding omen of something to come, but I personally think that part might be a bit of an old wives' tale. Throughout countless paranormal case studies and retellings of strange encounters, I have consistently heard people recounting their own doppelganger stories. 9 times out of 10, it's as simple as, I saw my wife in the bathroom, but when I got to the bedroom, she was there in different clothing. An eerie encounter, absolutely, but nothing necessarily evil or omenistic about it. In Mike and Susan's case, I believe that they are experiencing some sort of doppelganger effect. This harkens back to what I was talking about earlier. Is this some sort of energy burnt onto the tapestry of the house itself, now replaying at random? Or is this something attempting to mimic the inhabitants of the house? Now, I'm aware that we're getting quite deep in the weeds here, but bear with me, because I still don't think what's going on in this house is nefarious or anything like that. But what if the shoes I saw as I was leaving the house were used as a prop to look like it was just Mike's daughter? Or was it a doppelganger of Mike's daughter? Again, I'm leaving the ball in your court with this, but I definitely want to hear from you, so whatever your opinion is, skeptic, believer, or in-betweener, please reach out to me on Instagram or via the Houston Strange website. And don't forget, if you have any questions you would like me to ask in follow-up episodes, send them over too. Thanks again to everyone for joining me on this little adventure. Like I said before, Houston Strange is a passion project of mine. I write all the music, edit all the episodes, and perform the in-person interviews myself, but you tell the stories. So if you'd like to suggest a location, or if you have a story of your own that you'd like to tell, please visit the website houstonstrange.com. Until next time, stay strange, Houston.